welcome to Vanished Voices, The Overlooked. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Shannon.
How are you today?
I'm tired. I think I said that last time. I'm like,
it's a different day even.
I know.
We're not Monday.
Yeah, I'm like, I think it's the weather.
Yeah.
Little gray sky in Arizona gets you a little bit tired.
Because we don't know what to do with that.
Exactly.
It's foreign to us.
Yes.
I have a disappearance today for you that I had not heard of until I was researching cases. Pulled up my heartstrings and I wanted to share it with you. This is the disappearance of Ranelle Rose Bennett, and she is a member of the Navajo Nation. She was a 33-year-old mother of two who vanished from the reservation in 2021. Have you heard this one?
Nope.
All right. Ranelle lived in Hogback, New Mexico, which is a small community on the Navajo reservation near Shiprock. And it's about 30 miles away from Farmington, New Mexico.
Okay.
The Navajo Nation is huge. It spans parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. It covers around 27,000 square miles, which is actually over 17 million acres. It's roughly the size of West Virginia, and it's also bigger than Scotland.
I knew it was big, but I don't think I realized it was that big.
Yeah.
At least bigger than Scotland.
I didn't either. And I was reading an article on this that was from the UK, and they compared it to bigger than Scotland. And I was like, wow.
I mean, it's not surprising because when I've seen it on a map, I can visualize it so that, that actually makes sense. But hearing it is different.
Yeah. And thinking about West Virginia, it's huge, huge area. Policing this huge of an area is obviously difficult. The Navajo Nation has a population of about 165,000 people, which was the 2020 census, within the reservation borders. It's also worth mentioning that the total enrolled tribal members is almost 400,000 as of 2021, which makes it the largest federally recognized tribe in the USA. When they move away, they're not within the reservation. Right. So,
yeah, I knew Navajo Nation was the largest. I did know that.
Yeah. I was surprised at how many, though. The Navajo Nation Police Department has only about 210 officers to cover the entire reservation.
210 people for
165,000.
Yeah.
Over 27,000 square miles.
Not enough. Not enough.
Not enough. In 2024, the Navajo police reported 73 people missing from the nation, 51 men and 22 women. Some of those cases, though, dated back decades. They do have a missing persons unit, but it's very small. It consists of just one sergeant, 4 officers, and then a few staff. And they just have such an overwhelming caseload for such a small division within the police department. I bring all of this up because it will matter later. We've talked about before resources.
Every time.
Jurisdiction. Yeah, they become big issues in Ranelle's case. Ranelle Bennett was last seen on the morning of June 15th, 2021. That day should have been a happy one. Ranelle and her mother, Rose, were making plans for a birthday party. Ranelle's daughter was about to turn 10 years old, and they wanted to have a family gathering to celebrate. Ranelle adored her 2 kids, a boy and a girl, even though they lived primarily with their grandma, Rose. She made sure that she spoke to them every day by phone, and she never went more than a few days without seeing them. So when Ranelle promised to come over to help set up for the party, and obviously to celebrate her daughter's birthday that evening or the next day, reports vary on which day the birthday party was, everyone expected to see her. However, what we do know is that on the morning of June 15th, Rose stopped by Ranelle's house in Hogback. They talked about the party plans and agreed that Ranelle would head to Rose's to set up decorations. Everything seemed normal, except as Rose was leaving, Ranelle did something a little unusual. She gave her mom this huge, long hug. Rose would later recall in an interview with KOAT that the hug was uncharacteristic. Ranelle clung to her, and Rose said she even had tears in her eyes. She was hugging me for a long time. It wasn't like her. She never hugged me like this. She almost was kind of crying, Rose remembered.
Foreshadowing?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what prompted that.
Me too. That would sit with me after the fact for a
Absolutely.
while.
Yeah.
At the time, Rose didn't know what to make of it. She actually drove away thinking, why did she hold on to me that long? In hindsight, that moment weighs heavily on her. She wonders if Ranelle was trying to tell her something, maybe silently. Was she afraid? Sadly, Rose didn't have an answer then, and that was the last time she ever saw her daughter.
Well, and maybe Ranelle didn't either.
Right.
It's something compelled her to do it.
Oh, that's a good point. Ranelle never showed up for the birthday party, and this part hurts my heart so much. This little 10-year-old is waiting excitedly for her mom, peeking out the window. According to Rose, Ranelle's daughter kept texting her mom that day, like, Mom, remember, it's my birthday today.
Ugh.
It hurts. It's so sad. Her daughter kept looking out at the road, hoping that any moment her mom's car would come up, park in the driveway.
Yeah.
But Ranelle never came. She never called, and she never even sent a text to explain. And this was immediately alarming to her family. They said it was completely out of character for Ranelle to break a promise to her kids. Rose tried to stay calm at first. She wondered if maybe Ranelle had gotten sidetracked by something, possibly, quote, wrapped up in a new relationship since Ranelle had just started dating someone who we'll come back to. But as the hours passed with no word, worry was setting in. After a couple of days with no contact at all, which, like we said, she talked to her kids every single day. This was unheard of. Rose decided to go check on her. A few days after the missed birthday party, by some of the reporting, it seems like it was June 18th or 19th, Rose drove about 20 minutes from her home in Farmington to Ranelle's house in Hogback. When she got there, Ranelle's house was dark, it was quiet, the lights were off, the door was locked, and nobody answered when Rose knocked and called for Ranelle. That's when Rose knew something was very wrong. Ranelle wasn't away on some casual trip or staying with a friend. To her, this felt ominous.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, especially missing the birthday party.
Yes.
You just have to start having that panic build.
Yeah.
So on Monday, June 21st, 2021, which was a week after anyone had seen Ranelle, Rose went to the Navajo Nation Police Department in Shiprock to file a missing persons report. She gave all the details. Ranelle was 33. She was a Navajo woman, about 5'2" tall, 125 pounds, brown eyes, black hair. She had distinctive tattoos. The name Tristan, Treasten, on her right inner forearm, and a letter B behind her left ear. The last time Rose saw her, Ranelle was wearing an orange tank top and black sweatpants.
And that was just to get ready for the party, right? Not the actual party. Okay.
Right. Rose also mentioned that Ranelle went by the nickname Tiny, 5'2".
I know. So let's say I was about to say
Short.
she is tiny.
Yeah.
Fitting nickname.
Yes, it's perfect. The Shiprock police took the report, and then, infuriatingly, nothing happened.
Shocker.
I know, right? When a person is reporting missing, of course, you'd hope the police would act fast. Her family hoped the police would act fast, that they would get the information out to other officers. They would start looking, notify other agencies, etc. In Ranelle's case, that did not happen, at least not right away. Rose called the police 2 days later, so June 23rd, to follow up. And to her shock, she was told the report hadn't even been entered into the system yet.
How is that possible?
Right. Essentially, it was as if Ranelle wasn't officially missing as far as the database or bulletins were concerned. Rose spoke to a criminal investigator in Shiprock, and he said this was the first he was hearing of it. The paperwork had, quote, yet to be filed. Rose was floored. A whole week plus 2 days now had passed since the last time she had seen Ranelle, and crucial time had been lost due to this bureaucratic failure. In fact, according to what Rose later told KOAT News, it took a full 10 days, so until almost the end of June, for the Navajo police to get Ranelle's missing persons report completely entered into their system. That means for 10 days, there were no alerts out to patrol officers or neighboring jurisdictions about Ranelle.
I don't get that.
I don't either. I don't understand how it can take that long to just put it in the system.
Especially considering, while I think the rest of us lack information about missing and murdered Indigenous people, I would think within the community, it was known and has been known for a long time.
Yep.
And so when you're going to your own people's services and the fact that even there you're not getting action, traction, it's so wild to me.
Yeah. It doesn't compute in my brain.
No. But I guess, well, I think that's when we just come into this jurisdiction. Oh, who's supposed to do it? But still, it's when it's one of your people, like somebody from your tribe, I would think there would be a sense of urgency there, especially when I feel like within the community, but maybe I'm wrong, that they would be a little bit more aware.
Yeah. We're not talking about the 1970s. We're talking about the 2020s.
Yeah. I mean, I've not been on a reservation. I don't know the dynamics. So it's very hard to speak to or make assumptions, but I don't know. I find it, I'm glad they're speaking up now.
Yeah.
It's just so very difficult. I can see, yes, having, I could see always, yes, being able to blame the FBI, local police if there's a border there, but
right
within your own entity, I don't know. I feel like they should have been raising the alarm.
Yeah.
And maybe they've tried, maybe that's what we'll find out is that they have tried.
Maybe. And maybe it comes back to that
the FBI and maybe even Bureau of Indian Affairs not acting quick enough.
But it still takes that first call to then get the ball rolling. The FBI
at least the bare minimum of entering the information into the system.
Yes. Just so that people can be aware.
I would think you could do that while you're taking the report.
Yeah, right.
Real time.
Yeah.
I take live meeting notes. What's the difference?
Right. If someone's taking it, why aren't we just...
Yeah, you get the information, you submit it, and it's immediately live.
Right.
You can add information to it as it becomes available.
Right.
It's always a working document.
Yeah. I would assume it is something similar.
You could, almost pay a teenager to data entry person,
just to put it into the system.
But again, I understand there's a funding issue.
Yeah, true. Well, 10 days, no information in the system. Every family's nightmare, of course. As Rose put it, there was, quote, no actual urgency to locate Ranelle. She had to keep pushing, calling, and basically begging the police to take action. She said, I kept calling the police department, and finally, they just got tired of me. She would even go sit at the station waiting to corner any officer she could. She said they'd just brush her off or say no one was available. It took over 2 weeks from the day Ranelle vanished for Navajo Nation police to really start investigating the case in any kind of earnest way.
Has the Navajo Nation addressed it or the police? As in, are they indicating that, well, we have so many people that are missing that really aren't missing? Is that literally or somebody chooses to leave the reservation and we just don't know? Kind of,
yeah. You get that and you get we just don't have enough staff. We don't have enough funding to be on top. So many missing, which is awful, but that's the only thing that I could find from them. The family, feeling helpless and frustrated, of course, Ranelle's brother, Gerald Harrison, was so disturbed by the lack of progress that he decided he had to do something. He actually left his home in Breckenridge, Colorado, and moved back to New Mexico to help look for Ranelle. He said, if the law and media wouldn't do anything about this missing Navajo woman, I certainly will. He told KOAT, if I can't be the protector of my family, where do I go from here? So he devoted himself to running down every lead the family received. If someone even thought they saw Ranelle at a gas station or walking along a road, Gerald would jump in his truck and go there. The family printed flyers. They blasted Ranelle's information on social media. They networked with other families of missing Indigenous women for support. And all of this is happening before the police really ramped up their own investigation. It's worth noting, and this is back to what you were saying, In the same month that Ranelle vanished, there were at least 114 other new missing persons cases across various Indigenous tribes of the U.S. So just in June 2021.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot, but not just in Navajo Nation.
No, I know, but
yeah.
114.
Mm-hmm. In the U.S. in 1 month.
Yeah, that seems like someone should be paying attention.
Yes, agreed. It should not have taken the amount of time and the pushing from all of those families that it took.
Yeah.
Rose felt like her daughter's case was falling through the cracks, and sadly, she was right. Let's talk about another key part of this story, Ranelle's new boyfriend that we mentioned earlier. As soon as Ranelle went missing, attention turned to the man she'd been spending time with. So in the weeks before she disappeared, Ranelle had started dating a man named Kendall Johnson, who went by KJ. They'd only been seeing each other for about a month. Ranelle hadn't introduced KJ to her family yet, and her mom had never even met him face to face. When Rose had visited Ranelle's home on June 15th to talk about the party plans, KJ was at the house. Rose heard that he was in the back bedroom, and she asked Ranelle, "Is KJ in the back there?" Ranelle said yes, he was, but KJ didn't come out to say hello, and Rose left without even laying eyes on him.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
If the mom shows up, you would come out and say hello, especially to meet her for the first time.
I would think so. At the time, Rose didn't know anything about this guy, and she had no idea how dangerous he allegedly was until later. Not long after Ranelle was reported missing, Navajo Nation police filled Rose in on KJ's background. An officer asked Rose who Ranelle had been with, and when she said KJ, the officer's reaction was alarming. He told her, "That guy is no good." Rose really began to worry after finding that out. She said hearing from law enforcement that her daughter's new boyfriend was bad news was an extra level of anxiety.
Did they just say he's no good, or did they explain why?
I hope that they explained why. I will explain why.
Okay.
It turns out KJ was involved in some very serious criminal activity. Throughout the spring and early summer of 2021, the Shiprock area, which is part of the Navajo Nation in New Mexico, was plagued by a rash of home invasions and car thefts. Navajo Nation Police Chief Philip Francesco later explained that for months there had been numerous break-ins and stolen vehicles. Police eventually realized that these incidents were all, quote, kind of related. Many traced back to one group of perpetrators. At the center of this was a particular, quote, gentleman, which is how the chief diplomatically put it, they were trying to catch. That person was KJ. In July of 2021, about a month after Ranelle vanished, KJ and some of his associates made big headlines in the local news. On July 14th, 2021, Navajo police in Shiprock closed in on KJ's crew. It turned into a wild chase. Police pursued two different vehicles connected to the suspects. The chases ended with these guys ditching the cars and fleeing on foot. During the pursuit, though, the people in the cars threw homemade spike strips at the police, blowing out the tires of two of the patrol units. One suspect rammed a police vehicle. It was chaos. By the end of that day, 5 individuals were arrested, and KJ wasn't among them. He managed to escape that night.
So I would say that, okay, home invasion, I guess it depends on the degree. Because are they saying they are invading with people home with weapons, or just because initially I would say, well, that doesn't necessarily mean violence, but clearly they're escalating. And clearly if they're going to ram a police car, I would say, oh, they are probably more likely to engage in violent behavior.
I got the feeling that it was violent, but I couldn't find the actual case records from their trials.
Yeah.
They tried to find KJ. A manhunt ensued. After 2 days on the run, he was apprehended on July 16th near Red Mesa, Arizona, which is just over the New Mexico-Arizona state line and still on Navajo land. Navajo police arrested him on an outstanding federal warrant related to a 2020 weapons charge. So, in other words, even before the burglaries and the car theft spree, KJ was wanted. He was a felon in possession of a firearm, which is a federal crime. After his capture, he was handed over to federal custody. Eventually, he was sentenced to 44 months in prison on that firearms charge, but that didn't happen until 2022. So back to 2021, in July, KJ was behind bars. This development had kind of a double-edged effect on Ranelle's case. On one hand, everyone who knew Ranelle was now asking, did this guy do something to her?
Right.
On the other hand, for a brief time, police also asked, did Ranelle know about or even participate in KJ's crimes? So it might sound strange to consider the missing person as a possible criminal accomplice, but from law enforcement's perspective, at this early stage, they had a missing Navajo woman who happened to be dating the reservation's most wanted auto thief. So they couldn't rule out the possibility that maybe she chose to disappear to avoid arrest, or she was in hiding, either from him or with him. The police chief admitted that at one point, investigators wondered if Ranelle was, quote, involved with the crime spree simply because of her association with KJ. And in fact, 2 women were arrested alongside KJ during that July car chase and crackdown. So initially, officers weren't sure if one of them was maybe Ranelle, even using an alias, but neither of the arrested women was Ranelle. She truly was missing, not hiding with the gang.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them having to make that or consider that as an option.
Mm-hmm. You can see it from their perspective early on, not entirely sure.
Right.
As they dug deeper, there was zero evidence that Ranelle had been aware of or was complicit in KJ's crime ring. And her family adamantly maintains that she had nothing to do with that.
Well, and I wonder if she knew about his criminal background.
Mm-hmm. That is one of the theories that is out there. Either she knew and was going to say something, or...
Right, or knew and thought it was cool.
Right.
She wants to date a bad boy.
Right. Or thought she could change him.
Didn't know.
Or, yes. And unfortunately, because her family never got to meet him, they don't know what that relationship dynamic was.
Right. Well, and especially because they'd only been dating a month.
Right. For investigators, once it was clear that Ranelle hadn't left voluntarily, thankfully, the focus swung back to looking for her. And unfortunately, they were considering foul play. KJ became a person of interest, but to be clear, as of now, police have never publicly called him a suspect in Ranelle's disappearance. They did have eyes on him. He was the last person with Ranelle on June 15th. Rose and the rest of Ranelle's family couldn't help but wonder if KJ had hurt her. Maybe an argument erupted between them. Rose wondered if he could have done the unthinkable. And like we said, Ranelle and KJ had only been dating a month. The family didn't know a lot about that, but when they learned about KJ's arrest and how violent that chase was with police, it was hard for them not to imagine the worst.
Right.
Interestingly, KJ claims he saw Ranelle alive after June 15th. According to Chief Francesco, when Navajo police eventually interviewed KJ, he indicated that he last saw Ranelle in a certain area of Shiprock quite a few days after she was reported missing.
Not surprising. I assume that he's just trying to cover up the fact that he was the last person to potentially see her alive.
100%. And to me, I don't feel like she would have missed her daughter's birthday.
No, absolutely not. Not when she was making plans to come help decorate for it.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that while the children were not with her, she still maintained a very close relationship with them, seeing them, texting them daily.
Yeah,
calling them daily.
Yeah.
Seeing them every few days. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially for her daughter's birthday. I just don't think she wouldn't have called or texted, even if for whatever reason she couldn't make it at the last minute. But I don't really believe that either. With KJ's account, no one can corroborate it. If KJ had something to do with Ranelle's disappearance, he would obviously have a reason to mislead or lie. At this point, the police chief admitted, we really don't know what happened to Ranelle. One clue investigators pursued was Ranelle's cell phone. They did some cell phone tracking early on. Chief Francesco said that before KJ was caught, they had been doing cell phone pings and searches related to Ranelle's phone. For a while, the data suggested the phone was moving around in the days after she vanished, which raised the eerie question. Was it Ranelle moving with the phone, or had someone else taken her phone and been carrying it around?
I vote for someone else.
Me too. The chief admitted that they weren't sure if the pings indicated Ranelle's movements or someone else. So unfortunately, there's no way to know who's with it. The phone eventually went dead or stopped pinging, and it hasn't led to Ranelle's location so far, even tracking the places that they saw it move to. But it does add to the mystery. If someone had the phone after June 15th and it wasn't Ranelle, who was it?
Right. Who had it?
Mm-hmm. The summer of 2021 wore on with no sign of Ranelle. The Navajo Nation police and criminal investigators had finally gotten fully involved by July, and especially once KJ was arrested. Thankfully, about a month after Ranelle disappeared, the federal government stepped in. In April 2021, U.S. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland, who is herself Native American, Laguna Pueblo, had launched a new missing and murdered unit within the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which we've talked about, the BIA.
Yep.
This unit was supposed to help investigate cases of missing or murdered Indigenous people, working alongside tribal and federal law enforcement. Ranelle's case did quickly make it onto the radar of the MMU. In fact, about 1 month after Ranelle went missing, so mid-July, agents from this new BIA MMU arrived at Ranelle's house on the Navajo Nation to assist.
I did know about that unit, and I did know about her creating it, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I like that they showed up pretty much as soon as they were made aware.
Yes.
And luckily that was only
it took so long.
A month away. Yeah, a month after.
Rose said that she felt this surge of hope at that moment. Finally, some high-level resources were being devoted to finding her daughter. The agents searched Ranelle's home thoroughly. They collected potential evidence. They bagged up some items, although it's not public what those were. They told Rose they'd be in touch with any findings, and Rose thought maybe this will be the turning point. Maybe now we'll get some answers. But then, silence. Weeks passed, then months with no updates from the BIA agents. Rose waited by the phone anxiously and heard nothing. By October, so about 3 months after the feds had searched the house, the family was essentially completely in the dark. Rose decided to reach out herself. She called one of the MMU agents assigned to the case to ask what is going on. To her dismay, the agent told her that he was, quote, waiting for the Navajo Nation police before he could move forward. This was confusing. Hadn't the Navajo Nation police invited the BIA's help in the first place? Why would the feds be waiting on the tribal police?
Right. I would think, wouldn't the feds be trump anybody else? I thought that was the rule.
Yeah, I thought so too. Rose did as well. So next she called the Navajo Nation police to ask them for an update. Guess what they told her? They were waiting for the BIA to get back to them.
Shocking.
Yep, each side was claiming that their hands were tied until the other acted.
I mean, I could see waiting on them to turn over evidence to you, but I don't understand what you're waiting for. You're the feds.
Right. I don't get it either. What it essentially means is that nothing was being done.
Yes.
The back and forth limbo left Rose furious. They could have found something by now instead of just going back and forth, she told The Guardian. They're probably not even doing anything. You can hear the frustration and really a sense of betrayal in her voice. By late 2021, the Missing and Murdered Unit had featured Ranelle's case prominently. Her face was on their website and an agent had been assigned. Yet 9 months after her disappearance, the same problems persisted. There was poor communication, unclear jurisdiction, and Ranelle's mom felt like everyone was just passing the buck. Amid this standstill in the official investigation, Ranelle's family took steps of their own. In September, they had been out conducting ground searches in areas that they thought Ranelle could have been or where they might find evidence of some sort. Areas like Shiprock, since KJ had mentioned seeing her there. One of the days they were out searching, Some of Ranelle's family members were on these high desert mesas just north of Shiprock. In a really remote area, they stumbled upon a sweatshirt and a pair of women's shoes that looked very familiar. On closer inspection, the family recognized them as Ranelle's sweater and shoes. They're feeling fear, hope, panic. They immediately called the police. The Navajo Nation police officers did come out. They collected the clothing items as evidence. For the first time, there was a tangible clue. Were these items left there by Ranelle herself? Had she been on the mesa, hiding there? Were they dumped there by someone? We still don't know. The discovery of her sweater and shoes, the family thought would lead to answers. They did not. They waited anxiously for forensic results or follow-up from law enforcement, but after the evidence was taken, nothing happened, at least nothing that was shared with the family. Police never announced finding any DNA or a sign of a struggle or anything on the clothing.
That's what I was going to ask. So no, well, at least they haven't announced it.
They haven't announced it. Hopefully, it's something that they're just keeping
right
on the down low.
Yeah.
Months went by and Ranelle's family heard no new information about the sweater and shoes. They felt like the clues had vanished into an evidence locker with no closure. Then silence, as one account puts it, describing the letdown after that momentary breakthrough. Rose later said that she cried every day wondering what happened to her daughter. I try calling her, I pray, I just want her found, she said. Every day I sit here wondering if she's going to walk through the door. Her imagination undoubtedly ran wild with terrible possibilities. Rose never gave up hope. She has repeatedly said that she feels that Ranelle might still be alive somewhere. She said to KOAT News, I'm just hopeful she's still here with us. I have faith that she's still out there. By early 22, now Ranelle's been missing for over 6 months. Her case was at a standstill. We've got the jurisdictional chaos, the under-resourced policing. The Navajo Nation, has its own police and investigators, but for major crimes like homicide or kidnapping, falls under federal jurisdiction, which is usually handled by the FBI or the BIA, depending on exactly where it happened. In Ranelle's situation, if foul play was involved, the FBI would normally take the lead only if evidence of a crime like an abduction or a murder has surfaced. But when they're just considering it a missing person with, quote, unclear circumstances, the case just ends up lingering in this gray area where the FBI isn't stepping in. The tribal police are hoping the BIA will take over. The BIA is hoping the tribal police will find out something. They just get delay after delay after delay.
And that's that same where the tribal police can't investigate a non-native, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have that asset, which is infuriating.
It is infuriating.
If it happens on a reservation, they should have a free reign.
I agree, no matter who it is.
It's almost inviting non-natives to commit crimes on a reservation.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. I saw that reported in one of the sources that will link, but they said if you want to commit a murder, go do it on tribal ground.
Yeah, because
it's just horrible.
Right. You're just going to most likely get away with it because there's too many
hoops and hurdles to jump through.
Big holes.
Yes, giant gaping holes. At one point, the Navajo police chief publicly expressed frustration at the way that these cases are handled. He said that once cases are handed to FBI and federal investigators, tribal authorities get little communication or updates. He told Source New Mexico, everyone comes looking at the tribal police department for their answers, but it should be coming from the investigating agency. Our investigators and FBI won't get involved unless they believe there is a homicide. And the FBI even confirmed a bit tersely that they, quote, do not typically investigate cases of adults reported as missing on the Navajo Nation unless there is reasonable suspicion of foul play. That's the reality that families like Ranelle's are up against, this catch-22, where they're begging the FBI with their resources to help because they suspect foul play, but the FBI is waiting for proof of foul play before jumping in. But nobody's getting the proof of foul play to get the FBI to jump in.
Which you would think clothing, not on a person, would be some evidence of foul play.
On top of a remote high mesa.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
agreed.
Why would it be up there?
Mm-hmm.
She just changed clothes. You would have thrown them in the trash.
Right. Or anything. I mean, you wouldn't just leave them. And shoes, you can't leave shoes there.
Yeah. How are you walking back?
Exactly. And if you've ever walked through the desert, you want shoes. And even then, it's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Depending on the type of shoe.
Exactly.
Flip-flops do not cut it.
For a lot of families like Ranelle's, the family has to become the driving force to even keep the search alive. Ranelle's sister, Georgiana, emerged as a particularly determined advocate. It's so amazing that they're able to jump in and be this for the person that's missing. Every time I'm researching these, I feel like they shouldn't have to.
No.
Georgiana has essentially taken on the role of raising Ranelle's 2 children while Ranelle is missing. On top of that, she has campaigned tirelessly to keep Ranelle's story in the public eye. She's organized awareness events, spoken to the media. She has even taken a creative approach. I love this. She had water bottles printed with Ranelle's photo and details, and then she goes and hands them out in the community.
Oh, yeah, that is an excellent idea.
The idea is to literally put Ranelle's face in people's hands and spark conversations. Maybe someone who knows something will see it and feel compelled to speak.
I mean, it's like our old school children's faces on the milk carton.
Yep. I think it's brilliant, especially in a desert area.
Where everybody needs water.
2 years after Ranelle went missing, Georgiana was still distributing these flyers and her water bottles, doing whatever she could to ignite conversation that might lead to new information. Ranelle's family strongly believes that someone in the community knows what happened to Ranelle. In small communities, rumors often circulate and secrets are hard to keep. By 2025, Georgiana told PBS News, and that was the source that had said murders on tribal land. Yeah. She said that she is convinced people are withholding information. She said, I don't know what kind of thrill they have for withholding information. If you see something, say something. She was bleeding. She said, there are kids out here hurting. There are mothers out here hurting. What if it was their children? She's trying to get the public to put themselves in her shoes, you know?
Yeah.
Imagine if it was your sister or your daughter missing. Wouldn't you want to know?
Yeah, I'm sure I mean, I would have to think that if you're not helping, it's because you're somehow involved.
Or you're scared of who is involved.
Yeah.
Throughout 2022 and 2023, Ranelle's family participated in numerous public events and advocacy efforts. They coordinated with a Navajo-owned search and rescue outfit, which is the Four Corners K9 team, to do an intensive ground search of the Mesa area where they found the sweater and the shoes, hoping to find any trace of Ranelle. They reached out to politicians and media outlets trying to get more eyes on Ranelle's case. Prominent Navajo Nation leaders began talking more about the MMIR crisis. By 2023, the Navajo Nation even established its own task force and was working with the state of New Mexico on an alert system for missing Indigenous persons called the Turquoise Alert.
Which I've gotten one.
Yes.
Now.
So
I know it
in Arizona now.
I know it's in effect because I actually have received one this year, in fact.
I think it was just the spring of this year.
I was going to say like a month or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah, because it just became something.
It literally made me Google what is a turquoise alert because I've seen silvers and I've seen ambers, but I was like, oh, this is excellent.
Yes, thank goodness that they are starting to put that into effect places. In October of 2022, New Mexico held its first ever Missing in New Mexico Day. They had an event in Albuquerque that brought together families of missing persons, especially Indigenous families and law enforcement agencies. Ranelle's family was there, along with many others, to share their stories and push officials for action. Rose got the chance to speak directly to the FBI special agent in charge in Albuquerque. Face to face with the FBI boss, Rose poured out her heart. She talked about how much she loved her daughter, how badly the case has been handled, all the mistakes, the maddening lack of communication from authorities. According to those present, the agent was visibly moved listening to these families. He then addressed the crowd and essentially apologized for their pain. He acknowledged that it brings it home and makes it feel real, basically saying, if a family member of his had been missing for years with no answers, he'd be devastated. He vowed to personally look into these cases and promised the families some kind of response or update within the next month. Rose felt encouraged after the meeting. She said it helped just to see that other people in power were listening and also to meet other families in the same nightmare she was in. She told the Durango Herald, "It really helps talking to the people to know that you're not the only person going through this." Despite these efforts, though, 2023 turned to 2024 and Ranelle was still missing. The case remained officially unsolved and open. No suspects had been charged or even named publicly. KJ, the boyfriend, sat in prison serving his unrelated sentence. Reportedly, conflicting jurisdictions made it complicated to formally question him further about Ranelle. So it's not even getting in the way just of the investigation. It's getting in the way of even questioning people.
Which seems odd.
Mm-hmm.
But then, okay, because I read a book and it was state to state. The police in California were having absolute access to a suspect in Utah without any issues. So I would think that if police want to investigate somebody in federal custody, it would be the same thing. You make a phone call, explain why, and it gets set up.
I'm hoping that has happened and they just aren't putting it out there.
Yeah, they wouldn't put that out there. So yes, hopefully that did happen because it seemed rather simple in the book I read. Granted, this took place in the 1990s where you had California working with Utah police while Utah was investigating their own crime. California was still working on a crime. And they had no problem picking up the phone and calling each other, and this was in the 90s. So,
because that doesn't always happen. Even city to city.
Yeah. No, I remember it wasn't until 90s when we started creating all these databases that shared information. When you watch shows where they talk about stuff in the 70s and 80s, and it wasn't like that. And everybody was very like, no, this is mine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which is why some serial killers, even just operating in California, managed to go as long as they did.
Yes.
Yeah. In mid-2025, I believe the very end of June, beginning of July.
Oh, so recent.
Recent. The U.S. Department of Justice announced an initiative called Operation Not Forgotten, and they're dedicating more FBI agents to cold cases of missing or murdered Indigenous people.
Fabulous.
Thank goodness. It sucks that it took that long.
Right.
But I'm glad that it is happening now. At this point, you might be wondering, what do people think happened to Ranelle? Over 4 years have passed, and as of now, her case is still unsolved and open. The theories are things that we've talked about. People in the community, especially Ranelle's family, suspect that KJ knows more than he's saying.
I mean, he's the obvious choice.
And literally the last person known to be with her. He has a violent criminal history. However, they still haven't called him anything other than a person of interest. Which
they shouldn't. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to, that's not going to be out there how much they've questioned him. Well, and the fact that he wasn't using the disappearance to maybe lower his federal weapons charges.
Right.
Like, I can provide you information, also kind of makes me think he had something to do with it. Because, when someone's facing other criminal charges, they love to throw out, hey, but I can help you with this one in order for a reduced sentence or whatever
the case. People in the area are also wondering if Ranelle met with foul play from someone else in KJ's circle.
Very plausible.
Which is kind of,
I'm sure he
plausible from
help.
What you said.
Yes.
If he had known, he could have used that in his own, but
he didn't.
It doesn't.
I mean, you also have the
like
we don't snitch.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he only got a 4-year bid for this weapons violation.
Yeah, that's even.
Really not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things. He may just be like, I'm going to just do my bid and be done.
Especially if you're thinking that you can get out early with good behavior or, a lot of times.
Federal, you're going to do 90% of your time. So it's So federal's different than state. Federal charges, you actually will do your full bid.
So he could be getting out
90%
soon-ish.
or whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that didn't really go to 2022.
Yeah.
But if he was in prison up until then.
Yeah. So I would say, anytime could early 2026, he could easily be getting out. Unless
there's some
more charges are coming. Yeah.
Right. So we'll say all of that is speculation and allegedly.
Yeah, because if that was just for the federal charge for the gun possession, we're not even talking about the crime spree that was originally made him on the radar anyway. So maybe there's pending charges we don't know about for that.
That's true. Or even evading arrest.
Yeah.
Things like that. If they know he was in the car. Yeah. As to, why this case hasn't been solved, many in Ranelle's family and the broader Navajo community believe that people on the reservation have information, but they haven't shared it. Maybe out of fear of retaliation or distrust of law enforcement. We don't know. Georgiana strongly believes that this is the case. She says it's like a puzzle where some locals hold missing pieces. So if that's true, solving the case could depend on someone coming forward with an anonymous tip.
Which also, yes, Natives have a distrust of law enforcement for extremely valid reasons.
Absolutely.
So that also doesn't now help when you have a large population going missing and people not wanting to get it. So it's like almost like, again,
that catch
the double-edged sword. You already know that if you want to commit a crime, do it on a reservation, especially if you're non-native.
Which is so horrible.
Especially if you're non-native.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you also have the added distrust of authority. I mean, obvious reasons why. And just from a historical perspective. So yeah, you have that to deal with also.
Right.
Which is so unfortunate for the families that really want answers.
Agreed. I wish that we could end this episode with a resolution, but as of now, Ranelle Rose Bennett is still missing. It's been more than 4 years since she was last seen by her family. Today, she'd be 37 years old. Her 2 children are growing up without their mother, which is heartbreaking. They're being cared for by loving relatives who have to answer these hard questions. Ranelle's sister, Janelle, mentioned in one interview that the kids have hard days. She said they'll get sad. We always try to keep them happy. We try to keep it off their minds. But they also deserve to know what happened.
Right. And them being children, somewhat they're internalizing that, did I do something wrong? And and so trying to convince a child that they didn't is
especially when you don't have the answer.
Right. You can't point to something, or you can't visit them again or visit them at a location. Yes.
Right. Ranelle's case has helped spur improvements. For instance, New Mexico created the task force. They also created an online portal for missing Indigenous people, acknowledging past failures.
Good for them.
Yes. And then, like we mentioned, the FBI's Operation Not Forgotten, which launched in 2025, has pledged to, quote, surge dozens of agents into cold case investigations like Ranelle's. We'll be watching. Time will tell if these efforts have any positive effect. I'm really hoping that they do. The family's attorney, Darlene Gomez, has been vocal that things must change. She represents the Bennett family and several others, and she hasn't minced words. Quote, this is not happening in white communities. It's beyond a crisis. It is a genocide, Gomez said of the epidemic of missing Indigenous people.
Completely agree.
She argues that federal and tribal authorities waste valuable time early in all cases due to jurisdictional confusion, and that unfortunately is just way too common. Maybe you feel anger at how this was handled. I certainly do. It's infuriating to think that if things had been done differently in those first days, or if jurisdiction wasn't such a chaotic puzzle/maze, perhaps we'd have answers by now and Ranelle's family would have answers. If by any chance you or anyone you know has information about Ranelle Rose Bennett's disappearance, even something seemingly small, please, please, please speak up. After 4 long years, no tip is too small. You can contact the Navajo Nation Police Department in Shiprock at 505-368-1350 or the BIA's tip line at 1-833-560-2065. You can even text anonymously by texting BIAMMU plus your tip to 847-411. There's also the FBI office in Albuquerque, and sometimes cases like this break because an ordinary person comes forward with something they maybe didn't think was useful at the time or didn't realize. I don't know. That is the story of Ranelle Bennett.
Thank you for joining us today on this episode of Vanished Voices. We truly appreciate you spending your time with us as we dive into these heartbreaking and often infuriating cases. If you're looking for resources we used in this episode, head over to our website. You can find it at vanishedvoicespodcast.com.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a minute to rate, review, or share our podcast. Your rating helps, your review helps, sharing it helps us reach more listeners and grow our amazing community. You can find Vanished Voices, The Overlooked on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, and all major streaming platforms.
As always, refuse to let these voices vanish.
Bye.
Bye.